what's your take on how AI has impacted the development world?
As a developer, I think we can see these things coming up.
Hi Freelancer, welcome to today's episode of the Freelance Blueprint. I'm your host Lizzie, a freelance UX designer and digital nomad, and today we're going to be joined by Ramon. I met Ramon 2 or 3 years ago now in Spain, in Alicante, his hometown actually, where he rarely is, but he happened to be there while I was there, and we met through a mutual friend. He's a developer, fellow digital nomad, and he also has his own Saas products now. When you're lonely as a freelancer and you really miss that teamwork, how do you think would be a way to create that?
Yes, there's two ways of...
What was your decision to become a freelancer instead of looking for another permanent job?
It was not a decision, basically.
In this episode, we're covering topics like how colivings are great for digital nomads, tips for juniors, how to get into the industry, and what the difference is between working as a freelancer and working for your own SaaS products. So let's dive in. Hi Ramon, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Alicante, Spain.
Nice. That's where you're from, right?
Yes, I'm from here. Also, the last years, I haven't been that much time here. This is also the place where we meet.
Yes, we met. When did we meet? Was it 2 or 3 years ago?
More or less. Like, I think it was Christmas or like winter time. It was cold.
Maybe. Yeah, I think it was. I think I went there. Denisa was there as well, so we met through Denisa. And it was actually the first place that I kind of tested the digital nomad life. I just booked like a 2-week trip there. And it's funny because you're a digital nomad, you're never ever there. But it's your hometown, you know? So what was it like to grow up there?
Damn, so many things. Can you be more specific? Like,
I don't know. How was your childhood? Deep questions. What's it like there? Yeah.
so I guess it's quite typical, like Western typical growing up. Like you go to, I would say I'm middle class, more or less. So I went to a childcare as a child. Both of my parents were working. I would say most people had of my age had that same kind of family with both parents working more or less. Then after childcare, I went to high school. To primary school. I think it's in English, and then high school. And I don't know. The subjects were normal, like history, biology, like all the normal common stuff, I guess. And then after high school, you start kind of choosing your future or what you want to study on university, on college. If you want to go to college, because also in Spain, you have other options. If you want to start working earlier or you want to really work on something, you can study like a certain degree outside of college. And some people do that. Also, sometimes it's kind of bad thing. It's like you haven't gone to college. But anyway, I think if I could have learned what I have learned without going to college, I probably would have done that and finished earlier. But anyway, I went to college also, and I studied computer science. After that, and everything until here, I don't know, the common life in Alicante is very sunny. We are in the coast. So after college, I wanted to keep studying and to keep improving. So I did a master's degree on web engineering in Madrid. And that was my first time living in Alicante. So when I arrived to Madrid, it was crazy for me, like going to a new city, especially a big city, and getting to know all these new people, all these new experiences. And I knew that I didn't want to go back to Alicante when
I started traveling the world.
More or less. Actually, I was already so before finishing my degree on Alicante, I was already working on a company because I started doing these practices in a company. When I wanted to go to Madrid, I told them that, hey guys, I really want to do my master's. I don't care if I lose the job. They would, no, Ramon, we really like you and we want to keep you. So I started working remote before COVID and everything. They let me work remote from Madrid. That was my first remote work experience. And then in Madrid, before they were expecting for me to return to Alicante, which didn't happen. Before I finished my degree, I was already looking for a new job in Madrid, which was super hard. Like, not because there were not many jobs. Actually, there were many job offers for like computer science and so on. But the thing is that I wanted to improve in certain skills and technologies and so on. Those were hard to get, but I was very lucky. I ended up in a company that was also remote. I wasn't looking for a remote job, but they were remote. And yeah, I think that was the beginning. Actually, my first day was 2 days on that company was like 2 days after the weekend after the government of Spain said it started the quarantine because of COVID. I was supposed to go to the office, but I didn't. We had an office, also we were remote. So if people wanted to go to the office, we could go. That was very nice. I like that setup for remote working, actually. Like having the ability to go to the office and see your workmates if you want. But anyway, that was the first day, and actually the CEO of the company had to come to my house and give me the laptop to start working.
So
Yeah.
you were employed, you were not self-employed.
I was employed. Yes, I was not self-employed. So yeah, I didn't know if he was the CEO. The CEO. I thought it was like the sender, like yeah.
Korea,
I told my team later, and they were like laughing a lot about that. Anyway, so I started working in this company, and everything was amazing. I was learning a lot, improving a lot. It was really what I wanted. Everything was great. I would say until, of course, during this company is where COVID started. I also broke up with my previous girlfriend, so I was in a point where I hadn't nothing like left in Alicante or maybe Madrid. So I started looking for, okay, I have a remote job now. Let's try to travel the world a bit. So I didn't want to go out of Spain because of these stupid regulations that were happening every 2 weeks. Maybe where you were, there were actually regulations every 2 weeks of you cannot go out of certain hours, or you cannot be
I
with
think
these people.
Spain was one of the worst places during COVID, from what I heard, that you were lucky if you had a balcony. You were not allowed to go anywhere other than the closest supermarket and like 1 hour outside or something. I think it was one of the strictest places. Yeah.
I was most of the time in Madrid during the COVID quarantine, but then after that, there were even more regulations. You had more freedom, but not that much. So I decided to stay in Spain, and I went to the Canary Islands because I hadn't gone there, and it was near to me. So I don't know really how I found Nine Coliving. I think I maybe was working for a co-working, but anyway, I found it. I read the website, and I was like, damn, sounds super cool. Like, I really want to experience this. That's how it happened. I ended up there. And I think that's the point where everything changed. Like, I started meeting all these amazing people, new experiences, new ways of living life, digital nomads. I didn't know about any of that. Then other people tell you all more Colivings, and so you start making your list of, okay, I want to visit all of these Colivings, and I started traveling, and at some point, going back to my remote working. So at some point, I was still employed by this company, and they allowed me to go anywhere. Like there was no issue, even to Morocco, outside of the European Union. I would say at some point, this company got acquired by another one. They say they were joining, they were fusioning, but it got acquired. Things started to change. Like, I got moved to a new project. It was it, and I wasn't learning. Everything was very bad done. I knew that I was gonna be there as kind of as a senior, but I still wanted to learn more and improve my skills before getting into that position. So I started looking for a new job. It didn't take that time. And in a month or so, I got a new job in a new company. This was run from UK. It was different. It was a startup. The other one was like a consultancy. In this company, I had to do a lot more stuff, different things. You know, in a startup, you wear many hats. That's what people say. Well, at some point in this company, I decided to become also a freelancer. And that was my beginning of being a freelancer.
What was your decision to become a freelancer instead of looking for another permanent job?
It was not a decision. Basically, this startup in UK, they could not employ me. So becoming a freelancer was the only chance I had to work with them.
Looking back, do you think if that wouldn't have happened, you would have started freelancing?
Not really. I mean, it was not something that I was looking at. For me, it was more about getting a good job and learning. And whatever is required, I will have done it. So if they require me to go somewhere, go somewhere was a bit tricky because now that I had the remote work power, I didn't want to go back to a location. Actually, I remember when I was in the Canary Islands and traveling, I got so many offers, but most of them, they were requiring me to go back to the office in Madrid or something like that. I remember this, I think it was IKEA. I had a position in IKEA and it was moving quite fast, but they told me that I will need to go back to Madrid and so on. And I was like, nah, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I think once you have that freedom of like location independence and you can spend your lunch break going for a walk. I mean, you grew up by the beach. So for you, going for a walk on the beach in your lunch break is probably not a big thing, but like just doing something out of the average 9 to 5 person's office job, or like that your after work is a little bit of an adventure rather than just your commute home. Once you experience that, it's very hard to get back. But so you're a developer, you're a digital nomad. You're quite involved in the Coliving community. So also the software that you create is for that. So you have mangobeds, which is for Colivings, and I'm also using that for managing the bookings. But you also have mapmelon, which is a platform for digital nomads to find co-livings, to share where people are going next so they can arrange with their friends where they meet and also share recommendations and stuff. And there's a common thread. So it's mapmelon and it's mangobeds. So you like fruit. What is your inspiration, or like how do you come up with the names for the companies, and what was it? Maybe that's a bombarding, like a heavy question, but like what was it for you where you were like, okay, I just went from being employed to being a freelancer, and now I'm kind of creating my own business and provide software as a service and create a community platform. Like, what was the process to that?
There's not like a single answer, so I will just try to go through it. So while I was starting my freelance career in this new company and so on, I started keep going to Colivings, and I started looking at this pattern that there was not a proper place to find proper community Colivings, and also it was hard to. It is super easy in a Coliving to make new friends, but it is very hard to keep the connections. So that's how mapmelon came to life. It was not mapmelon at the beginning, the name, but like a platform where you could find Colivings and also keep track of the friends you meet, and also try to meet again, help meeting again in the future in new Colivings or somewhere else in the world. I started working on that. It was like my first big project, and it was trying to make it everything so like perfect. That's at some point my partner Sole, she encouraged me to, hey Ramon, let's just put this. She started helping me like debugging and so on, and then she started encouraging me to show it to more people and so on, and that's where it started to roll more and more, like with user feedback and so on. And at some point we had to decide on a name. We didn't want it to be called Nomad something, like all these other Nomad platforms. It had a map, and we like fruits. Well, I especially like fruits, so we were trying names, and mapmelon came, and the domain was free, and we purchased it. That's more or less the whole story of mapmelon.
It's quite interesting because you saw this need for yourself, like you discovered co-livings and you were like, I really like this, but how do I find if this co-living is a proper co-living? I remember once you know about the concept as a nomad, it's super nice to just book a co-living because you know all your needs are going to be covered. You will go somewhere, they will have local recommendations, but they're also where you're a foreigner, so maybe you like every now and then like something a bit more foreign. So like you can trust the recommendations, you can you know that there's going to be a co-working space and that there's a community. And I remember Googling a co-living in Kyoto in Japan, and I saw your video on YouTube about it, and then you were like, it's a good one but also not really because there isn't community, but like this and this is good and this is bad, and that you actually had criteria of which co-livings you put on mapmelon, that it's not like we just put anything there that calls themselves a co-living, but we want to make sure they actually feel like a co-living and they provide, like they match that co-living concept. What do you think makes a co-living a co-living?
First of all, I want to say that we only focus on co-livings for digital nomads and remote workers, because the co-living world is like super spread, and there's co-living for all people, for students, and so on. I would say to be a co-living for digital nomads and remote workers, definitely you need a place to work. So with connection, and it needs to be like a separate place. It cannot be like the kitchen and so on. It needs to be, or the living room. It needs to be like a separate area to work from. That's one of the requirements we have. Then we also have requirements like they need to encourage the long stays. So, for example, have long stay discounts and so on. Also have common areas like a living room or something like that where people can just hang out. There's also this community part. So I think this has been the trickiest one because each Coliving achieve a community level in a different way. Some of them have like one or several community managers, others have like a lot of activities. We try to do is at least to have some of these. So have a community manager or a host or several of them, do activities at least weekly or daily or so on. More or less that, like having that part of community with the activities and so on. Also have the place to work and areas to co-live. Let's put it that way.
Which is your favorite co-living? And you're allowed not to say the home base because I think you only spend a weekend there, so you didn't get the whole experience. What's your favorite co-living?
Oh my God. I get this question so much. Actually, we are writing like an article about this, so we can just share that article with the people. But anyway, favorite co-living. I obviously don't have a favorite co-living. Going back to 9, I would say 9 is a special one because it was my first co-living and it's a very nice one. I really enjoy. And actually, most of the friends I have keep contact with are from 9. I don't know why, but it's like we have very strong connections after all these years. I would say it depends on your interests and what you're really looking for. So the good thing about co-living is that each co-living is a different world. They have a very different community. You're not gonna get the same things in every co-living. So if you're really looking, I don't know, for surfing, or you are into mountain sports, or you are into wellness and or yoga, like you will find co-livings that are more into that, and you will fit better, and you will enjoy them more. So that's, if you're looking for a co-living, that's also super important. For me, as I am very into surfing and tech and so on, and startups, I guess, like entrepreneurship. So, and into foodie, I would say co-livings that fit those needs for me are my favorite ones. So, I don't know, Nine, Alt in Chiang Mai is also very nice. And I also love Thailand and the Thai food and everything there. So, that's also one of my favorites. There's one Sundays in Morocco and another one next to it, which is not, it's like on the limit of being a co-living, that is called Adventure Kids, but it's very focused on surfing. So they are also kind of like a surf camp hostel. Then there's like the typical ones that are such super nice, and I love my stay there, like San Anco, Chateau Coliving, Burgas
You stayed
Coliving.
in San and Co. That's in Alicante, no?
I will stay in San Anco, yes, because I know it's like if 1 hour more or less away, but I really wanted to know how it was there.
I heard it's closing though. I think I saw a post
Yes.
recently that they're closing. Do you know
Yes.
why?
So about San Anco, like this year actually they were trying to look for a way of improving, like changing the ownership and so on, because they were sometimes struggling with getting bookings and so on. They managed to fix that, but anyway they wanted to change a bit like the ownership and try something new. And in the end, I think they didn't found anyone that, or any company that could take onto that. And that's why indeed they have decided to, hey, let's stop this for now and move into other stuff. So yeah, I still got the notice like 1 or 2 weeks ago, and we put a post on mapmelon, and it was quite sad to read because it was one of the best ones, definitely.
Yeah, I heard like really, really good stuff about it. And Denise, like, for the listeners, the person that introduced Ramon and me, she was like saying that it was one of the best co-livings because from the very first second you feel so welcome. Like they don't just send you the Google Maps where to go. They like really want to make sure you arrive there safely. You had a little welcome package. They introduce you to the people there. So by the very first second, they're prepared for your arrival. They make you feel welcome. And I've been to co-livings where it's literally like, yeah, we just talked about this, and I don't want to talk bad about co-livings. I know how much work it is. And it's this, there isn't even a welcome message. There isn't like, it's just like, oh, this is your room and that's it. And it felt like I might as well just have stayed in a hotel. And the whole reason why I book a co-living is so that you meet other people. And of course, it's also the effort that you make to put yourself out there. But I think the co-living should give you the opportunity to put yourself out there, to meet other people. The staff should be like, oh, have you guys met? You know, these kind of small things that spark a conversation with someone else. When it comes to co-livings, what was it where you decided to create a PMS for them? So for the listeners who don't know, like PMS is often associated with certain female things. And I remember the first time I worked on a freelance gig, which was something similar to Booking, like a platform which connected hotels and the guests with each other. But instead of taking a lot of commission, like making it direct, like kind of removing the Booking.com middleman. So I worked for that company, and the project manager there, he was kind of explaining what a PMS is. And he was like, okay, now you can all giggle. It's a project management system. It's basically making sure these things communicate with each other, that if you have a booking on Airbnb.com, that it also shows in your calendar and blocks it so someone else cannot book that same room through a different platform and things like that. What sparked the idea for you to create that specifically for Colivings?
It was I hadn't mentioned this friend, which was also the initial reason which we started with mapmelon. I have this friend which is also like kind of the co-founder, not co-founder, sorry, but co-owner of Sandesk in Morocco. It's called Toby. He was also like going to many Colivings and Tobias Hack, but recently it's not that many traveling. Anyway, he's the guy that inspired me also and helped me with mapmelon. And at some point, they at Sandesk, they were looking for a new PMS because the one they were using currently was not helping them to solve certain community and co-living aspects. We were discussing other stuff. That topic came out, and I told him that, hey, I can develop something for you. And he was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So we started collaborating, and that's more or less how it started. We started meeting other Colivings, other Coliving owners with similar issues and new ones. So the tool started growing with all this feedback from Colivings and being more done for Colivings. Like, I don't know, typical issues like as in Colivings, people stay for a long term. Just sometimes have these gaps in between bookings, so helping them fill those gaps, or making sure that when people book, they book in a certain way to improve the community, like on a certain days or only for this time of the month and so on. A lot of things that improve the community and also helping the staff and the Coliving owners to manage things more easily. That was like 2 years ago, more or less, and it will have grown a lot. Like, it's not only me, like now we are a team and we are working with even more Colivings and it's super exciting and it's very rewarding to help Colivings and work in the Coliving world, because I would say everyone is like good people. Like, it's not everyone is willing to listen, willing to help. I guess that's the whole thing about Coliving. Like, it's the people that go to Coliving in the first place, people that are willing to collive and to share stuff and your time and experiences together. So
I think I told you, I'm not sure if I told you, but there was this guest that we had in our co-living, and he was like very much like a hardcore AI person, build everything with AI, do everything. Like, I think there's usually two camps, those that are incredibly scared and those that are extremely excited about AI. And he's like on the extreme end of excited about AI. And he is also the kind of person that you just say one word about something you do for a living, and he's like, you should have this business, you can make this one, I can help you with lead generation. He's like this, like he doesn't stop talking about business. We were talking about different things, and we have different events at the co-living where also external people can join. So it's like the curry night, we have a Skillshare event, and sometimes for us it's a bit tricky to manage it. To if someone's having a room with us, we can just add it to their profile on not mapmelon, on mangobeds, that okay, they joined that curry night and etc. So it's easy to track things. But if it's an external guest, it's a bit hard, or people would sign up but then not show up, and then we kind of lose out because someone else could have taken the job, the spot, and things like that. And he was like, oh, I'll create a platform for you, I'm gonna use AI and all this kind of stuff. I think he used Lovable, and I was like, yeah, I know AI is good. I know AI replaces a lot of development tasks, but I don't trust that you can build like a website, landing page, fine, but a fully fledged system with like payment systems, with a CMS where I in the front end can change the date or whatever is happening in this event, like all these kind of things that a couple of prompts can do that, because it is very complex. And then he showed me something, and he came up within a couple of hours with this prototype. And some things were already working. Like there were decent screens, like of course not perfect, but for the very first sample, it was really good. And he was like, yeah, in 2 days, I'm going to get you this platform. You can get rid of mangobeds. And I'm like, let's see. Because the thing that I was worried about was the whole backend stuff. Like how do you connect like the screens? Nice, all good. But how do you connect it so that it knows, okay, this person has paid, but this person has not paid? And can it do all the things where it sends a message to confirm the check-in, all this kind of stuff? And he said, I'll get it done in 2 days. He's still working on it. So that was like a couple months ago. But the first draft was really good for someone who has no coding experience, for just creating some prompts. And I mean, AI isn't fully there, but it's evolving so fast. What's your take on how AI has impacted the development world, how it has impacted the chances for people to create SaaS products? What's your take on that?
As a developer, I think we are we can see these things coming up sooner than other people, I would say, especially because at least I get more news and I can try them on myself. Especially because one of my main clients is also like with I work with, it's like an AI company, so we also test new models and so on. I would say I love it. I love what AI is doing for us. I think at this moment it is not replacing us. Probably it's replacing junior developers, or at least most of what juniors does. So being a junior now in the current software development ecosystem is like super hard, or getting a job as a junior, not only because of AI, because also the last year a lot of boot camps and courses and so on are in. So there's a lot of juniors out there. So it's very hard for them. I am pro AI and using AI tools for coding and so on. Of course, you need to supervise them and so on. It's like working with a junior, and you are telling them some things. I was using Copilot in the past. Now I'm using Cursor. Yeah, I'm very happy. And in the end, it's about making me more productive, and I save a lot of time with these tasks. I also have tried Lovable, and I really like it. What I achieved with it, but I cannot use it for it. It is not ready for some things like, for example, Next.js, like some technologies. So it's still in early stage, but I could see that working in the long term. People making apps, maybe with that and some no-code tools. So if you are lacking some integrations, you can plug them in. We will see. But definitely, I see people that they don't know how to code, starting creating stuff. They kind of know. I just how they know what they are doing, but because in the end, it's about making maintainable code. That's the whole goal about coding and making software. Making software that is easy to maintain. That's the gold standard. And with AI, sometimes it's not like that, at least for now, because sometimes it's like overcomplicated or over-engineered, or maybe it's not done in a proper way. So, but it's getting improved in a super fast way. So maybe from here to 5 years is maybe Lovable can make all of that or other tool. So we will see.
Do you still freelance, or are you now mainly doing mapmelon and mangobeds and other stuff?
I do freelance. I have my clients, and then we have the team for mapmelon and mangobeds. I cannot we still are not able to support all of us. So we are at least I have now I only have one main client, and I am very happy with them. I would say main source of revenue, more or less.
Do you prefer one over the other? Like if you could just focus on one, would you do it, or do you like the mix of both?
I don't see them as so I see everything as where I am putting my time and what I am getting out of it. Everything has its pros and cons. Like putting my time with this client is getting me knowledge on AI, also on more senior skills. I'm guiding them on how to do proper things, because when I started with them, they had like the code base was a bit like the way they were working was a bit not a mess, but it could be improved. I'm getting to learn a lot there about that, like helping them. And also it's very grateful because they are very happy with my work and what I am showing them. On the other thing, it's also the other projects, let's call it that way, like Mapmelon, Mangobeds and so on, is very happy also to see how the clients and so on are using your tool. It's very rewarding to see how you are helping people to find Colivings, to book Colivings, and to manage the Coliving and save time. And in the end, it's about it. It makes me happy to see what the time I'm putting on in things is helping them. I don't prefer one or the other as long as that's the goal, I would say.
I think that's also the nice thing with being your own boss. Like, you can choose. Like, if you want a bit more of this, you go that direction. If you want a bit more of that, you go the other. How do you get your clients? Like, is it now, are you at the stage where it's more word of mouth? Like you mentioned, your first client would have been more or less like an employee, but they just wanted you to work as a contractor. But how did you get your other freelance contracts from there?
The first one, my first company was like a practice on college. That was kind of easy. Then on Madrid, I think that was the hardest, looking for a proper company to learn more and so on. And then the next client, the one from UK, I got it because I was trying this new tech software to build mapmelon. And it was like a very niche software. So I went into the Discord channel. There were some companies using also this software. So they were looking for someone to work with them. So that's how I found that offer. And the next ones, they all have come from my networking. What I normally do when I want to search for new clients, I have stopped looking for jobs. Since a lot time ago, what I do is I go into my WhatsApp, my Instagram, all of my network, and I just look for, hey, I am free. I am looking for new clients. Do you know someone? And the Coliving world also, like all these Slacks and communities, like, hey, I do this and this, and I'm looking for this and that. That has worked super well for me. There's always someone looking for a software developer or something like that. And I would say I have been lucky that in less than a month, I have been able, if I needed a new client, to get it.
It's good. It's good. So you have like a lead generation of mainly your network. And I think it's like what you said, the co-living, it's such a huge network. And it's also in a way funny. Like, I know you've been to many co-livings, but almost every co-living that I go to and there's like a group chat, I always see your picture. And it's funny. It's in a way, it's huge. There are co-livings all over the world, but it's also a bit of a small industry, because I think once you experience the co-living side of things, you're more likely to book another co-living. You ask other people like, oh, which co-living do you recommend? Or like it's a lot of word of mouth, which is great for freelancing. You also mentioned before that there's a lot of juniors out there, and it's the same in UX. Like, there are so many boot camps, there are so many things, and then most of the times, and I guess for developers, it's the same as in UX, where you get a coding task and you spend so much time to do this coding task. And what tips do you have for a junior who, no matter if they want to be a freelancer or not, what tips would you have for them when it comes to either climbing the corporate ladder, or to be self-employed and starting a career with it?
I would say to keep learning. Like, at least that's what worked for me, just to keep learning non-stop. Learning can be doing more courses or working on a side project, but try to just improve yourself. Not try, like, do it. Focus, dedicate some time, plan yourself, what do you want to achieve and how you can achieve it. Read some books on if you want to get better at programming. There are great books about programming, or also self-help books I have read have helped me a lot, how to do things and structure my life and so on. And apart from that, I don't know, surround yourself from people that are better than you and more intelligent than you, always. At least when you are starting, like, you need to be the stupidest person in the room, definitely.
Yeah, they say that a lot. But you do coaching, right?
I also do coaching, or not that much nowadays, but I have been coaching people. I think the best example is my brother. I have been helping him, like, since the beginning. Like, he didn't know, like, he tried different careers and didn't know more or less what to do. And I showed him what I was doing. He wanted to try it, so he actually did a bootcamp. Then he got a job, and we are also now kind of working together. And I'm helping him to improve his skills and so on. And it's also very rewarding.
How do you find your coaching clients?
my coaching clients, I had this mentor course, not subscription, but I was in that platform. And apart from that, I haven't focused that much on that, on coaching, let's say. So I had one or two, and I liked it, but they finished the coaching. It's not that I didn't like it. It's just that I helped them as much as I could, and then some other thing, we finished the thing because I couldn't help them more, and they were happy with the results and so on. And then other things popped up in my life, and I didn't have the time. So that's more or less what happened with the coaching. I'm still open to coaching people, and if people want my help and they want my guidance, I'm there for them. But it's just that I'm not looking after them. If they come, let's move forward. If not, it's good.
Was there any project that you worked on where you were like which kind of stuck with you, or it could be like from coaching, it could be like one of your own projects, or like a freelance client. Like, was there something where it stuck with you in a way that maybe you learned a big lesson, or there was just, yeah. Did you have something that comes to mind?
A lot of things come now to my mind. With this last client, I have learned a lot about guiding them, how to do things async, putting good practices, not only in code, but in communication too. And they have been super happy and very grateful with the results. Like, hey, thanks Ramon for this, hey Ramon for this and that. We are really grateful and so on. Other clients, for example, when I was working on the corporative level, like my first big job, I would say, the company from Madrid, I really enjoyed the team work, the relationship I had with my team. We were very close together. We were really helping each other and so on. I think that was the best team experience we had. That's something very hard to find when you are later as a freelancer. When you are working on a corporative level and in a big companies, I think it's easier to have better team skills and so on. So that's something that maybe didn't answer the question, but that came to my mind now. I also wanted to ask. Oh, go for it.
Go for it.
I wanted to ask you before about the AI stuff. You asked me about the software developer world. I am also very curious about the US world and the design and so on. How do you see the AI? Are you also embracing using new AI tools, or you are more like this, not, and that?
I tried to use it. Like, there are different tools for a few things. Like, some are super simple. Like, if you make a landing page and maybe you need an image without a background. So now Figma allows you to just remove the background, saves a ton of time, things like that. Sometimes it's like, one way I like to use it is if you have a landing page and you didn't get any copywriting, you can just ask ChatGPT to write some blurb for you. So the website has a bit of like, the client gets a better idea of what they can put into the website instead of just like lorem ipsum text. So with those things, it's very beneficial. I did play around with having AI draw some like basic flowcharts, and also I used it once for a client that I had, which was basically about, it's like Trustpilot, but a bit different. And it's more of a mix of also professionals reviewing an item, for example. And I just tried to see what it would come up with if I'm like, okay, this is a reviewing platform, it has to do X, Y, Z. And then it popped something out that basically looked like Amazon. And it's like, it's so copy and paste. And I mean, in reality, designers copy and paste, but they know what to pick from different things to create something that works. But the whole UI of it was very much Amazon, and it also, the flow wasn't as smooth. So it's definitely a good starting point, but then I also felt like I'm spending more time trying to fix that flow that the AI made up than if I would have just started from scratch. So I mean, it was a while ago that I played with that. Maybe the tools are a bit more refined. There are probably way more tools out there than I've played around with, but I think AI is a tool. It's not like it's going to do everything for you. People always say like, AI is not going to replace you. It will more likely, but you will be replaced by a person using AI. But I think it's a good starting point. It can give you inspiration and an idea, but I don't think it's at a stage yet where it's going to make all of us redundant. I wish in a way that it would, because I kind of like the idea of basic income, and then we can all do whatever we like. And if we need more money, we just do something. But I know that's a very idealistic view. But yeah. What do you think?
I was thinking on the latest thing you said about being in this ideal world where we don't need to do anything and so on. And that reminded me on, I love this book, The Brave New World. Maybe you have read it. It's literally about that. Like a society, it's an old book, dystopian future one, in a society where everyone is like super happy, they don't need to work, humans are like genetically born, so they create different kind of humans, like I think it's alpha, beta, gamma, something like that, and some of them are in charge of doing this and others from that and that. I really love that book because it's like, how would be the ideal world where you don't need to do anything and everyone is happy? Like if there's any problem, you just take this drug and you are happy and you keep with your life. And it's more about I like the final conversation of the book, which is about because one of the characters of the books, he kind of like goes to a place where they are not living this way, they are living like in the old way. Then he faces like the truth between the not truth that is happening. So it's like, do you want to be happy or do you want to know the truth about how this real
It's
life?
a blue pill, red pill conversation.
Exactly. And the last conversation of the book is super interesting and it goes like pros and cons of each thing. And in the end, it's like none of them is like they is good or is there's not like a better way. It's like they are different and one has its pros and its cons, but it's super interesting. So
But I also think if you're always happy, you don't appreciate it. Like if you never went through hardship, if you never had a hard time, I don't know if you ever had a phase in your freelance career where you were like, ah, shit, I don't have a client, or ah, shit, is this going to work out? Or, oh, this cost me more, or, oh, the tax bill came earlier than I thought, but that invoice hasn't been paid, so I cannot pay that yet. I have cash flow issues, whatever it is, you know. I think if you haven't gone through that time, if everything is just smooth sailing, you don't appreciate it, because that's like, if you haven't been through some sort of hardship, and in that book, it sounds like everyone's happy, but are they as happy as someone who maybe went through some real shit and became happy later on, who then really appreciates the life he's living now? Or is it just like a generic happiness?
that's a good question. I mean, that's life in a way. Like you appreciate things because you have been like good things because you have been in bad things. Put it in a simple way, not only freelancing but in everything, I would say. The thing is that in that book, you don't have the bad things. You only have the good things if you live in that society. That's why I love the conversation, because I was thinking in that kind of mentality, but the arguments in favor with this society were so good. Like if you are happy all the time, that it really, and this other guy was going against, like, yeah, but what you're telling me, but you don't know what is good if you haven't had the truth of what is bad and so on. And the other guy was answering in such good answers that you need to read that argument of the last conversation. It's a very quick book. Like it's not, I don't know how long it is, but it's super fast to read.
The other thing I wanted to ask you before, you were talking about being in a team as a freelancer, that it's quite rare to have this like good, how do you call it, teamship, community within your team. When you're lonely as a freelancer and you really miss that teamwork, how do you think would be a way to create that?
Yes, there's two ways of being a freelancer. You can be lonely or you can be in a team, I would say. I have been lucky that most of my times as a freelancer, I have been in a teams, mostly because it was mainly my main client, or I have like a main client and we were like, I was a freelancer, but I was kind of an employee, like as a freelancer, something like that. I think they call them like a fake employee or something like that. And in those situations, you don't need to do anything because you are already in a team and you are already happy with your team and so on. Now, the parts where you are more lonely because it's like a small client or you are only working, you don't have a team, let's put it that way. What I try to do is just to, or what I did is to just think that they are a client and that I don't need to look for this team bonding experience and kind of like look for that outside of the workspace, like look for that in my life, like have more relationship with my friends or do more stuff with my partner, like supply that need of team and so on with the real life world.
On the topic of teams, how do you manage your own team? So you have mapmelon, you have mangobeds, and you said that at this stage you're having a team. How do you manage it? Is it more like a flat hierarchy? Is it like, how does it work? How do you communicate everyone's roles? Like, and what are your tips for someone who is in the process of going from being a freelancer to creating a team to build something together? What would you tell them?
Tips I can give. So let's start with delegating stuff. So that's one of the most important parts, especially if you are the one not leading, but it doesn't have to be with leading, but you need to learn to delegate as you are not alone anymore. You need to learn how to, okay, what things can be done by other people and how much is it worth it to be done by other people? Is it worth it to jump on a call or explain them some stuff and then they can handle all of this? Or it is better for me to just do it because I have more experience and so on. So learn to delegate is a very good skill to learn. And it's very hard to delegate, especially because you will face some parts where you are like, okay, should I delegate this or not? So yeah, delegating is one of the main things. Another things I would say is documentation. So as you are no longer alone, you also need to explain everyone how to do things, and not everyone, but the new team members. The more you document all your process, even the things that you think that they don't need to learn this, they don't need to know this, they know how to do this, or they will know super quick how. No, you need to write everything. Write or even record a loom. Like how did I do this? Record your screen, a video. So I would say documenting is the other one important skill. And communication, which is like good skill for everything. Like just ask questions. Hey, how are you doing with this? Do you need help with that? Also, not only communication from you, but also enforce them to communicate. Like, hey, let's do this and this. Please ask me these questions. If you're stuck, don't wait for this and the other thing. So yeah, those three skills: delegating, documentation, and communication, I would say are the most important ones to build a successful team.
Yeah, I think delegating can be hard, especially if you're used to working alone and then you're like, oh, I can outsource this to someone or I can ask someone else to do this. And sometimes maybe that's my people pleasing side where I'm like, is it rude if I ask them? Like if it's in the same team level, it feels a bit weird to like pass something on because I'm like, do they think I'm too lazy to do it? But in the end, it's like, would they do it better than I can? Yes, delegate it to them. Is it better if I do it? Because maybe like my first subcontractor, I was thinking like I could just do it. It would be faster because I know how to do it. If I tell her, like, it's not that she wouldn't get it done, but it might take her a little bit longer because she doesn't know where things are in the file or things like that. But then also I was thinking I will not be able to delegate other things to her. If she learns this in the long run, it will be much easier. Also, I wanted to train her up so I can free up my own time. But yeah, it's at the beginning, it's super hard to ask someone else to do something that you're used to do. And I heard that the rule of thumb is like, if it's cheaper, like how much would you charge for doing this task? Anything that's cheaper than that for someone else to do it, always delegate it, which I find hard if you don't have the finances at that stage. Because just because you would be paid, I don't know, $1,000 for this thing and someone else would be paid 500, you might not have the 1,000, you still have to pay the 500. How do you choose what to delegate and what not?
I don't see it as a money thing. I see it more like as a time thing. Like, is it worth it in the long term? For example, is it that I am delegating a task or a thing to do that is going to be something that we need to do a lot of times? Is something that I am doing a lot of times or the whole team needs to do a lot of time? Like, I don't know, there's some recurrent issue that is popping up and we need to fix it. And is it worth for me to keep doing it? Or if it is going to keep appearing a lot, then it is worth to delegate it and to teach other people to how to fix this. So I would say more in terms of time. If it's something that only appears once per month or once every 2 months, I can keep doing it myself. It's not worth it, in my opinion, to learn, to teach other people to how to do this. What is worth it is to document it, how I am fixing it, for example. So in case one of those months I am not able, or I am not there, I'm on holidays, let's put it that way, or I just left the company. Then it is they have some documents and they have a way to, okay, Ramon was doing this, how he was doing this.
Cool. There are 3 questions that I always ask every guest of the podcast.
Okay.
And one of them is, would you ever go back to a permanent job?
What do you mean by a permanent job?
Like being employed, working for a company, having not as a contractor, but they pay you a monthly salary. You have to do what your boss tells you, having the safety of a regular salary.
I would say, as I don't see them as permanent, I see them as time that I am investing and so on. And if a permanent job lets me, like if a big corporation lets me be remote, they pay me a very good salary, and I'm working and learning and I feel valued and so on, I wouldn't mind going back to a permanent job.
Interesting. I think you're the first one who... Oh no, there was someone else who said that they would go back into a permanent job. But like you said, you can always quit that. So it can be just a phase, not a forever thing.
Exactly. I mean, what I'm saying is that if the permanent job has the same perks or good things that the situation I have at the moment, yeah, why not?
And if you could go back in time, let's say to the Ramon that just went to 9 Coliving, what would you today tell your past self?
Oh man, dude. I will tell him that prepare to the adventure that he's gonna have. I don't know, to not be afraid to... I don't know. He was doing plenty of good things already. Maybe to go to Asia sooner and not to go to Cape Verde, for example. It's not worth it. Go to Thailand as soon as possible.
Nice. And if you think about your future self 5 years from now, maybe by then you sold one of your projects. Maybe they just run by themselves and, like you can chill. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you took on a corporate job. Maybe you moved to Thailand. Whatever might happen, what do you think your future self would come back to tell you today?
I think something similar as I am telling my old one, like, you're doing the things good. And I think you have the right goals. So, I don't know. Wow, it's a bit weird to try to manage both kind of minds at the same time, having the same conversation. But yeah, you are doing the right thing. Maybe stress less or just focus on the good things of life and this kind of stuff. Just enjoy the way.
Nice. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. For the listeners who want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
The best way to find me is just Ramon, Ramon Morcillo, morcillo.com, and that's my website. So there you can find everything about me, all the projects and so on. If you want to learn all about mapmelon, mapmelon.com, and mangobeds, mangobeds.com, and yeah, my link, everything is on my website. So that's the way to find me.
Perfect. I'll also add the links in the show notes. And yeah, thank you so much. And thank you. Yeah.
Thanks to you, Lizzie. It was a pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed listening to the episode. I've known Ramon for a while, so it's quite interesting to also learn how he started. If there's one main takeaway from listening to this episode, it's probably that you should go and book a co-living. It might change your life. And of course, I have to plug that you should go to the home base. If you liked this episode, please leave a review and hit the follow button. This will help the Freelance Blueprint get found by more freelancers like you. Share this episode with any of your friends who you think can benefit from listening to it. That's all from me, and I hope to have you join again next week. Bye!